So intelligent document processing has been used quite a few times name-wise to talk about a lot of different things, but in its core basis or its asset, it's simply being able to recognize a document class. And ultimately what you want from a document class is the information off the document. So that can actually come from PDF or a TIFF. A lot of times it's emailed and pushed around inside organizations so that there's quite a few people touching these documents, and really all that's wanted off the documents is the data. So with IQBot and cognitive computing and this advent of intelligent document processing, what you can do is you can take rote processes that is simply nothing more than taking information from a form and putting it into a computer field. We can make that relatively simple. So there's large organizations that have quite a few people that actually do nothing but that. And so what we can do is come in, and it's almost like wave 3 of outsourcing, where in late 2008, you moved most of your shared services and BPO offshore. Now this is kind of the next wave where you can actually take what someone's doing offshore, which is just inputting information, and actually have the computer do it. And so typically what you'll see is large scale FTE reductions. And it's not that those people are being let go. What they're doing is they're actually using the data now to find trends and patterns and faults instead of just putting the data in the system. So now those people can actually add benefit and improve customer experience, which at the end of the day, that's really what you want, is you want all this information to flow seamlessly so that the people that see it can make decisions with it and move your net promoter score and your customer experience up. But ultimately, that's why you would do it. At the end of the day, there has to be an ROI with it. And if you have 2 people doing anything specifically around data capture, you should be able to get an ROI on it. And anything above 2 people and beyond is easy to capture an ROI on it. And we see that all the time. So if you're doing intelligent document processing, and that could be anything from a purchase order to a timesheet to an expense report to a medical claim, if you have large groups of people doing nothing but ripping that information off and keying it back into a system, then the ROI on that should be relatively straightforward. And we have some very robust out-of-the-box solutions for that. And we're hosting some very large instances of it where we're giving 24-hour turnaround on 5,000 and 6,000 document types a day. And so that's not something that most people see here in the US anymore, but it's very readily available today. So a digital worker in its simplest concept is nothing more than a series of task bots doing something to do a process. So the original RPA, most POCs and most of the bots in production typically do a task. And so hence they've been called task bots. A digital worker is nothing more than 3 or 4 task bots doing those tasks in serial or dependent upon each other to ultimately just do a process. And so a digital worker has the capability of doing a process, whereas a task bot has the ability to do a task. The reason we got started with Workday is Automation Anywhere thought that Workday would be a really good partner. And in late 2018, I believe they actually signed a partnership agreement with them. And I'm pretty sure they implemented Workday internally for their HR and financials. So we got asked from their bot store organization to create some bots for Workday. And what happened was the bots turned out to be a little bit more than bots, and they morphed into digital workers. So we're some of the first groups to have digital workers on the bot store. If you go to Automation Anywhere's website, look at bot store, and you click on digital workers and then click on Workday, all those in the bot store are ours. We have decided over time that it's easier to push information into and out of Workday through an API. So what we did is we disaggregated the input and output from the digital worker and actually created something called Workday Fast Track, which is a Windows DLL that actually talks to Workday natively through EIB and the API stack. And that actually allows us to be a little bit more accurate when we're putting information in and out. So ultimately, if you're going to use a digital worker or a bot with Workday, we suggest you actually use the API. And we would obviously suggest you use the Fast Track API for us. We'll ultimately build more task bots. What we've seen in the market is digital workers have done okay, but there's a lot of response now for task bots. specifically around things like payroll garnishment, payroll taxes, leave of absence, employee onboarding, and the list just goes on and on. So you'll see us continue to work with Automation Anywhere to put Workday bots in the bot store. And we'll be announcing hopefully in the next week that we've moved on to Salesforce, and that we'll have a Salesforce API called Salesforce Fast Track that allows us to take advantage of the Salesforce APIs as well. So we're working right now with Automation Anywhere to come out with the first couple of those bots. We expect them to be on the bot store sometime in April. And so hopefully that will occur, and everyone can get a message, and we'll be doing bots for Salesforce.com as well. What we're seeing is that in 2018 and 2019, the vast majority of the Global 1000 did POCs. And there was an analyst report, I don't know if it was Gartner or Forrester, that came out and said, I think like 96% of the Global 1000 had done a POC, but less than 2% of them had more than 5 bots in production. And so I think what you're going to see in 2020 and beyond, and as soon as we come off the back of this COVID-19, you're going to see that this year, next year, and the following year is going to be the year of scale. So the technology has gotten to the point now with full stack automation and intelligent document processing that you can start scaling these bots. And it's not going to be, I don't think, out of question to see companies put 100, 200, 300 bots in production. And if you look at the most advanced companies, and I believe, you know, they're all out there on the internet, you can look at them, but it's, you know, it's AT&T and Walmart and Sprint. They've got thousands of bots in production, and they're managing those bot farms just fine. So they've actually proven the fact that you can put large scale bots in production. And I think 2021 will ultimately be the year of scale. My pause on that would be if you don't have all of the right governance in place, so you don't have a COE, a design authority, and the business involved, you probably ought to pick a partner that has been doing this for a while and has a little scar tissue around that, so that you don't get off on the wrong foot as you start your journey. So we've been doing this for about 2 or 3 years now. We think we're reasonably good at it, and we've got some really good IP around how to keep you kind of down the straight and narrow path as you start to scale. So